Yes, guys, if you're a man in your 30s or beyond and you've started to notice that your progress in the gym has slowed, your energy has dipped, and your physique isn't where you want it to be, then you're in luck. This video is for you. Now look, today we're diving into how men 35 plus build a lean, muscular, high-performing physique and why age is not the barrier that you think it is. You're going to see exactly why most guys blame their age, when in reality it's their structure, their lifestyle, and their mindset, most importantly, that is holding them back. And I'm going to walk you through the same framework that I use with my clients to reclaim elite physical standards in the busiest decade of their lives. I'm Julian, transformation coach, former world champion and record-holding powerlifter, 5-time bodybuilding champion, and I hold a BSc honours in sports psychology with a postgraduate diploma in strength conditioning science. I'm also an NSCA certified strength coach, and over the last decade, I've helped men all over the world master their physique, mindset, and structure so they can perform at their highest level. So look, if you're ready to level up, not just inside the gym, but also across life in general as a whole, you are 100% categorically in the right place. And before we dive in, make sure you hit the like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you want more content on building an elite physique, unshakable discipline, and a high performance lifestyle in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. All right, let's get into the session. So how men 35 plus build a lean, muscular, high performing physique and why age isn't the barrier you think it is, and how to reclaim elite physical standards in the busiest decades of your life. Okay, here's the situation. So every man hits this moment in his 30s where progress begins to slow and energy drops and physique starts slipping. And most men point to one thing, and that is age. Just flat out, oh, it's because I'm older. When I was your age, this was easy for me, and so on and so forth. And here's the truth. Age in itself isn't the problem as much as life is. So why your 20s felt easier? Your 20s were easy mode because less responsibilities, more sleep, more time to dedicate to your training, way less stress, fewer commitments, a natural hormonal advantage is definitely a factor. And your 30s aren't harder necessarily because your biology completely collapsed. They're harder because life expanded. Now, the real reason progress slows after 30, it's not age itself, it's the stacking of responsibilities. Typically in our 30s, career demands increase, business pressure increases, you take on leadership roles, marriage, partnerships, looking after kids, looking after parents, mortgages, bills. You have less time for everything, you have more stress, and there's less bandwidth to really take your health and your fitness seriously. And the reality is most men aren't too old to progress. They're under-recovered, under-planned, and overwhelmed. So metabolic decline, let's look at that a little bit more closely. So yes, of course, cellular entropy is a very real thing. Yes, your testosterone slowly starts to decline from your mid-20s onwards. Yes, recovery is that little bit slower for a multitude of reasons, but these biological shifts are marginal compared to the lifestyle shifts that occur in your 30s. And in 99% of cases, the issue is not age, it's poor structure, it's poor recovery, it's poor nutrition, poor stress management, poor prioritization, and your energy surrounding training as a consequence absolutely sucks. It's in the toilet. The point I want to drive home here is that life looks dramatically different in your 30s as compared to your 20s. And the biological constraints that begin to take hold, begin being the operative word, from mid-20s onward, pale in comparison to the dramatic effects that life, if you allow it to control how you operate, throw at you in your 30s. There's also the psychological trap. Most men fall into one of these two categories. I'm older now, so this is just how it is. And number two, the easy one to divert to is, oh, I don't have time anymore. And both are false. The real issue is a loss of identity, and you stop seeing yourself as a man who is capable of elite physical standards. It's the mindset that kills progress more so than age itself. And we've talked a lot about the environment and how much this impacts our behaviors and our identity, particularly with the people that we surround ourselves with. If you're surrounded by fit guys who are getting fitter and fitter and fitter in their 30s and 40s and 50s, guess what? You'll be one of them. If you're surrounded by guys that spend their Fridays and Saturdays and even Sundays down the pub or most nights after work sinking pints, your fitness is going to decline. If you're surrounded by guys who are moaning about their wives, how stressful it is having kids, school fees and all this nonsense, yeah, you're going to be one of these guys that ends up just blaming your family on everything. Your environment is everything, and particularly the conversations in the company that you keep. So the solution, you need a new system, okay? Everything's a system, really. You know, whether it's working for you or not is a different matter. But when you hit your 30s, you can't rely on winging it anymore. Let's face it, in your 30s, things change to a point where you have to be completely intentional about how you allocate your time. Things won't just accidentally happen favorably. You're not going to just accidentally be able to carve out 5 spaces in your diary to get down the gym. You're not going to be able to accidentally have all the available foods available for you to progress your physique, to drop body fat, to build muscle. It just doesn't work like that. And so when you hit your 30s, you have to bring about more structure. You need to be more time efficient. You need to have a strategy about your recovery. You need to be much more precise with your nutrition, and you need to actually get your identity aligned. You need to really think about, okay, is the person I am aligned with how I am, or rather, is the way I operate aligned with the person that I want to be? And so men in their 30s do not need necessarily more effort. They just need simpler systems that are higher in quality and more geared towards the outcomes that they want. They need to audit their lives. We've talked a lot about this in previous masterminds, running an audit and looking at, okay, do the actions of today serve me for the person I want to be tomorrow? So there are 3 pillars for men who are 35 plus that need to be mastered in order for you to get into your best shape rather than be a victim of this typical decline that so many experience and so many people blame purely on the merit of getting older. Number 1 is diary mastery. And we're going to go into detail on each of these 3 areas. But if it's not scheduled, this is just a high-level overview here, but if it's not scheduled, it won't happen. Your physique after 35 is a diary management game, not a motivation game. I actually had a conversation today with a client who was saying that he's struggling this week to get in the gym. He's struggling to have the motivation, were his words, to get in the gym before work, and he's struggling to get in the gym due to lack of motivation after the work. The conversation that I had with them was pretty short and pretty sweet, and it was, well, the issue is your reliance on motivation. Motivation isn't just going to show up. You need to forge discipline. You need to do the thing that you need to do in order to have the thing that you want down the line. And if you are, especially in your 30s, when your energy is drained, consumed, when your bandwidth is being consumed, you're not going to get far if you are waiting for motivation to magically arrive. You have to do the thing in spite of not having motivation. And that is the definition of discipline. So, you know, motivation is something that you need to just throw to the wayside. Number 2, efficient training. So you can't just go in there anymore and just wing it. You can't just do a lucky dip lottery of, you know, this machine and that machine, and I'm going to push to failure in all these sets and it'll be okay. No, you need to be effective. You need to be selective. You need to be conscious of your health, particularly joint and muscle health, and you need to be time efficient. No one in their 30s with a family, with a job, with people to look after, all the rest of it, can spend 3 hours in the gym like when you're a teenager or in your 20s, you just mess about for 2 hours. You need to recognize that quality is more important here than volume. And you need to recognize that intensity surpasses endless hours in the gym. And number 3, recovery and energy. All right. Sleep, stress reduction, digestion, micronutrient intake. That's your fruit and veg, people. This is where most 35 plus year old men fail. Not always in the training. More often than not, it's in these things, your lifestyle management. So let's go into a bit more detail into each of these. So pillar 1, diary mastery. So here's what you need to do in order to get into your best shape in your 30s. You need to block specific training days, okay? In your diary, you need to guard them like business meetings. Get them prioritized. Sunday night, when you're organizing your week, 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., off to the gym, back at home, getting ready for work. Done. You need to pre-plan your meals. I always tell my clients the highest likelihood of success with nutrition in mind and just a transformation project in general is to prep as many meals in advance for as many days in advance. I always tell people, if you can, do 7 days of meal prep in advance for a multitude of reasons. Number one, reduces that negotiation in your mind when you get cravings. No, the food's already made. Number two, you're already invested. You're hardly going to be likely to default on your steps or your training or your cardio if you've done all the work in preparing your foods. Number three, just less cognitive bandwidth, better time efficiency when it's already made. So that's key. Get the meals planned and made 7 days in advance. You got to set daily execution targets. You got to know exactly what your steps are, what your sleep scores that you're shooting for are, how much you need to be drinking, your training stats. Next, you need to reduce the low value tasks. This is things like doom scrolling. You know, a lot of people will blame time, a lack of time. Okay, well, if you actually audit your life, a lot of guys in their 30s and 40s and 50s and so on are still spending too much time on social media. It's just a default for a bit of a dopamine kick. We all do it. Check out your screen time now. Go in your iPhone settings, check out your screen time on your social media apps. It will scare the hell out of you. Say no more often. How many things are you currently doing in your 30s and onwards that you've fallen into this routine and maybe something that you don't even enjoy doing, but you're allocating time to it? Maybe it's, I don't know, some sort of social event that doesn't really feel that social anymore. Maybe it's, I don't know, it could be a club that you attend on a weekly basis. The point here is, and especially if you are a highly sociable person who feels this natural inclination to say yes to things, are you always going to those things that are exclusively hell yeses, or are you kind of feeling the need to keep up appearances and doing things for the sake more so for others than yourself? Are there more things that you could say no to and you just need to be a bit braver about it? Food prep, we already talked about. Automate that shit. Get it done 7 days in advance. And so discipline is a word which we use to describe performing the actions that need to be done here and now to have the things that we want down the line. But it's not even necessarily about discipline. This is more about organization. You've just got to be intentional with your diary and intentional with your actions, more so than being disciplined. You just need to be intentional. So basically, you need to stop being a child about the way you run your life. You no longer got to be reactive. You've got to be proactive. Okay, pillar 2 was training. How do we actually navigate training itself for those that are 35 plus? The key is targeted, intelligent, joint-friendly training. So your training must prioritize big patterns. I like programming push-pull legs because you can get it done in 3 days. You can do a 3-day split quite happily and build an awesome physique. If you're super time constrained, this is a tremendous training split. Is it the most optimal if you had laboratory conditions? No, probably not. You could probably train with a little bit more frequency and create a little bit more of a factory line of repeated stimulation for muscle growth. But to keep things ticking along and for gradual progression without consuming too much diary time or cognitive bandwidth, absolutely push-pull legs. You need to select the exercises that actually fit to your body and your preferences. So you need to cut the fat, basically. And if there are just seemingly arbitrary exercises that you've been doing for the sake of doing them, since your 20s, are there exercises there that you don't really connect with? Are there ones that cause you joint pain? Are there ones that you just don't enjoy doing and you don't feel much scope for progression on? Get rid of them. Select only the exercises and double down on those that fit to your body and your preferences. Which brings me on to the next point, which is protect your joints and tendons. You will 100% by this point, if you've been training for a few years or since your 20s, there will be specific exercises which you categorically know are not good for you. But you've been doing them because you've been told to do them, or you've read in magazines or online or on social media pages. You got to do squats. You got to do deadlifts. You got to bench press. If they're causing you grief, tendinitis, spine pain, muscle strains, and so on and so forth, bin them, because you will not have the same capacity to recover as well if your diary was already constrained? Are you going to be able to now find another 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a week for physiotherapy, for stretching, for foam rolling, for tissue repair, all these different things that come with injuries? No, you need to protect your time and reduce the chance of added injuries from movements that you know are going to cause you grief. Okay. The next one is maximizing mechanical tension. So this is moves where you reach that point of involuntary deceleration of load. Okay, whether it's on a barbell or a machine or a dumbbell, whatever. Mechanical tension basically is measured by the force we have to apply, and mechanical tension will increase in response to lifting heavier weight. And it's that forced deceleration. It means that no matter how hard we push, we can't retain a decent velocity of that load that we're pushing. It's the proverbial hitting true failure. That point where you're pushing the bar and it's gone from moving quickly to literally you're grinding it out. So for this reason, where it's appropriate to, go with intensity over and above volume. That means lower rep ranges, heavier weight. I think the sweet spot in your 30s is 8 to 12. Some people might think 12 is high. I don't. I trained for a long time in my 20s with 15 reps to 20 reps at times. Had some different training goals back then, but I don't see 12 as high rep. I see it right smack in the middle. Keep sessions shorter, 60 to 75 minutes. You don't need to hang about in the gym. You don't have time to hang about in the gym. Focus on quality. And something that I haven't written there is, when you are time constrained, there is a massive temptation to rush your sessions. And by that, I mean deploying very short rest periods between sets and moving very, very quickly between exercises. On paper, it looks good because you're out of breath a lot. Your heart rate's elevated. You're increasing session density. You're getting more total work done in a specific time frame. But the reality is, when you reduce rest periods substantially, although the perceived intensity is high, the actual intensity as it relates to the percentage of 1 rep max that you're pushing is very low. Try it now. Try and, hit a maximal set of 10 on bench press. Let's say you hit 100 kilos. Give yourself 30 reps. Tell me how many reps you get. You'll be lucky to get 4 reps after 30 seconds rest. Maybe 5 if you're some sort of freak. But if you had to then accommodate that with selecting the right load to hit 10 reps again, you're probably not going to get 10 reps with anything more than 70 kilos. So although the perceived intensity is still at 100%, you're actually operating at 70%. There's some very, very simple maths there, meathead maths going on there. I'm pretty sure it's accurate. Get the numbers really simple. But you get the point. So instead, the way to navigate it is give yourself at least 60 seconds rest as a rule. If you're doing heavier lifting, if you have got that little bit more time, 2 minutes is better. And if it's target sets where you really need to beat scores, then still don't rush. Afford yourself that 2 to 3 minutes rest. So resist the temptation to get into this kind of circuit style training where you're just beasting yourself for 30, 45 minutes. It feels good and it's a good metabolic workout and it will burn some calories, but in terms of actually stimulating muscle growth, weak, and inducing a high level of systemic fatigue, very, very high. Very, very high. You will feel more exhausted for that style of training over the coming days. All right, I've labored pillar 2, but you get the point. Pillar 3, hormones, sleep, and energy. This is the multiplier. Okay. Now, if you improve these, you will find that you can counter the effects of what most people attribute to a slowing metabolism. Okay. 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I would almost guarantee that 90% of the people that are going to watch this video are not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I'm one of them. All right. I'm lucky to get 6.5 hours of sleep. And it's usually, again, it comes back to that word, or those 2 words, discipline and organization. It's unequivocally for me, it's a discipline issue. I don't have the discipline always to get to bed on time. It's something I need to work on. Low evening screen exposure. Okay. It contributes in many ways to less recovery, but primarily, especially in the evening, it's just going to mean shallow sleep and also less sleep. That's one of my issues. I finish work. I want a bit of downtime. I'll just catch up on some of the social side of social media rather than the business side of social media, and I might find myself just I could go to sleep and I'm on my phone. I'm sure some of you are thinking the same and do the same. Get morning sunlight. This is something that I'm very good at. One of the first things I do is I go out to the balcony in the morning when that sun is rising, that desert sun, and I just have my coffee out there. It's brutal. I can't see anything. The sun's in my eye, but it's good for me, and it gets me awake, and it gets the right hormones circulating around the body. Proper protein intake: 1 gram to 2 grams per pound of lean body mass. 1 gram being the absolute minimum, 2 grams per pound of lean body mass being the absolute maximum. 1.5 is pretty much a sweet spot. Take myself, for instance. We imagine that I'm 225 at the moment. And let's say, I don't know, keep the numbers really simple. I'm not, but let's say I was 10% body fat. I'm not 10%, I'm more than that at the moment. But that would then mean 22 off of that. So call it 200 grams protein minimum, roughly speaking, as a 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. And twice that, so 2 grams would be 400. It's too much. 1.5, 300 is literally what I aim for. It's perfect. Omega-3s and micronutrients. I won't labor this point, but it basically means, guys, fruit and veg, colorful plate. Your micros are the catalysts that enable your macros to actually be digested and utilized and metabolized. It's not what you eat, it's about what you digest. Blood glucose stability. Pay attention to your highs and lows from what you eat. How does the food you eat impact your energy, your blood sugar? You don't need to be doing a prick test to know that your blood sugar is high or low. You will feel it jump up and crash down if you consume massive meals, rich in carbohydrates. I like to reduce carbohydrate intake until around training time, because if I eat a heavy carbohydrate meal first thing in the morning, I will feel sluggish. So be aware of this. Lower your stimulant reliance. Again, this is where I dropped the ball. I am sat here and it is now 8:25 p.m. and I have this at the ready because I've got a lot more work to do after this. And I will probably be relying on a little bit of Diet Pepsi to get these next couple of hours of work done until about 10:30, 11 o'clock. That will impact my sleep. That is not good. I could be more organized. I could be more disciplined. But caffeine reliance or other stimulant reliance, it is not going to do you any favors. It will impede on your recovery. Daily walking for stress regulation. This is something that I strongly implement for all of my clients, and I'm good at this too. 10,000 steps. It really will help you in so many ways. Stress management, mood regulation, better recovery, better digestion. If you get 10,000 steps in per day, you will be doing more movement and taking better care for yourself than probably 75% of the population. Arbitrary figure there. Can't back that, but just look around. Most people are sloths. They spend their days on their asses. They order their food to their homes. They barely move a muscle. They sit behind the desk on their laptops all day, and they're probably getting in 1,000 steps. Their bodies just aren't moving. They're stagnating. They're just collecting dust. Okay, so on the plus side, positives. Here's why men 35 plus can actually, au contraire, transform faster than guys in their 20s. And it's pretty ironic. Men in their 30s often progress faster than men in their 20s because they are more focused. We are less susceptible to trivial shit. They have more self-awareness on the balance of things. I know some 35 plus year old guys who just are on another planet. They don't know where they are. But in general, you've had some life experience. You're a little bit more self-aware. You have more reason. Okay, whether that's impending health problems or a family to look after or a business to run or a career to hold down or people to look, whatever it is, the reasons start to stack where actually a lot of your life depends on you maintaining, number one, a good level of health. Number two, a good energy regulation, your ability to actually regulate your energy. And number three, to retain a decent level of confidence and pride in yourself in order to get through this super challenging world. You have higher standards. You've probably gone through that cycle of, I need to do something about my life in your 30s, right? A lot of guys in their 20s haven't reached that point yet. And so you actually have higher standards for yourself that you need to maintain and build upon. You actually value your time more, which means you're more efficient with your time, which means you're more effective with your time, which means you don't waste time. And the time that you do spend actually is productive, rather than just believing that, if I just put time into a thing, that will be sufficient. This is the trap a lot of people in their 20s fall into, is just, I went to the gym today for 90 minutes. Okay, well, what did you do? And it's just a list of garbage that would not have moved the needle forward. Guys in their 30s will take execution more seriously. They're just more intentional about the way they move. They understand the repercussions that come with repeatedly doing things wrong. It's injuries, it's pain, it's joint soreness, and so on and so forth. And generally speaking, in our 30s plus, we've had our egos checked. We've been through the cycle of operating from a place of ego and realize that, pride comes before the fall, and you push yourself a little bit too hard or a little bit haphazardly, or you go a little bit gung-ho, or you disregard form and you hurt yourself. That shouldn't be an issue anymore in your 30s, so you can have more steady, incremental, predictable progress. So think of it like this. You're not actually past your physical prime, you're past your undisciplined prime. You can't get away anymore without being disciplined, but that's actually a major advantage for the reasons above. So here's the identity shift that you need to make. The biggest change is psychological. You need to stop seeing yourself as, I'm older now, and start seeing yourself as, I'm more capable now. It's an easy trap to fall into, especially now where so many young people are really into gym culture. It wasn't like that when I was in my teens and 20s. I was one of a very, very rare few. Now it's popular culture. So you can find yourself looking around thinking, damn, I'm older. No, you're more capable now. You have an advantage over these young bucks. Your 30s are where men build power, presence, strength, leadership, confidence, and physical authority, but only if you choose to. So for those that are, on the precipice of making this change in direction in their 30s plus, here's some things you can do right off the bat. For my clients watching this, these are all things that you're doing already. But for those that are looking to really make a change in their lives, here's some key steps, some first steps. Train 3 to 4 times a week. Walk 10 steps a day, 10K steps per day. Hit your protein target, 1.5 grams per pound of lean body weight is perfect. Sleep 7+ hours. Just cut out alcohol. Obviously, special occasions. If you enjoy a drink, you don't have to drink, but if you enjoy a drink, I do, a couple of times a year, whether it's a festival or Christmas time or whatever. Meet up with the old boys from back in England once a year. Yeah, I'll have a pint or 12 and the rest. But as a rule, the social or the relaxation couple of beers when you get back in from work, the glass of wine that turns into a bottle of wine every couple of nights, cut it out. 3 liters of water. Hydration is critical. Cut out the scrolling before bed. Just no negotiating. Track your meals and lift progressively. And you will feel 5 years younger inside 1 week. You will feel so much better about life. So the big message to drive home, your 30s aren't a decline point. They're a crossroads. And most men go downhill and a few rise into the most powerful version of themselves. And the difference is not age, it is structure, it is strategy, and most importantly, it is personal responsibility. All right, guys. Now, if that landed with you and you're a man 35 plus who knows you're capable of far more than what you're currently seeing in the mirror, this is your moment to move. You don't have an age problem. You have a structure problem, a systems problem, and a responsibility to yourself to fix it. If you want my help building this properly with a clear plan, precise structure, and high-level accountability so you can get lean, muscular, and performing at your very best again, send me the number 21 on Instagram in my DMs, and I'll send you all the details about what it looks like to work with me one-to-one inside the Titanium Transformation Program. My handle is @Julian_Titanium. And so if you're done blaming age and you're ready to rebuild the strongest version of yourself, send me the number 21 now, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.